Hello guys, my name is Sam and welcome back to SWTOR Central, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the concept of pay to win. Now on one of my previous videos, which was about a particular item that you can now purchase within Star Wars The Old Republic, there was more than a few comments pointing out that the item seemed to be pay to win. Obviously me being me was quite quick to debunk that, but I also took this to Twitter and decided to make a poll to see what people actually think about this item. I will explain what this item is and what it does, so don't worry, we're about to get to that, but here is the tweet poll. I had the poll last for a total of 4 hours and it ended up with 23% of people saying yes and 77% of people saying no. I also asked in the tweet if people could reply with the reasons why. Now every single person who posted the reason why except one said no. Now I found this very interesting considering the fact that 23% of the people did vote yes, while only one of them responded to the tweet explaining why, whereas a whole bunch of people who voted no actually responded with their reasons why. Now this video isn't going to be about is this item in Star Wars The Old Republic a pay to win item. In fact, I'll tell you the answer now. The answer is a big fat no. But I will be using this particular item to sort of explain the differences between a pay to win feature and one that is a pay for convenience feature. So if you look to the screen now, you can see an item on our cash shop, which is called the Cartel Market if you're not familiar with it, which is called the Masters Datacron and Equipment Bundle. Now this item was released with patch 5.6 with Star Wars The Old Republic, and what this item does is it can boost any of your existing characters to level 70. So if you wanted to just skip all of the leveling, you could just make a new level 1 character or any level character, whatever you've got, and just boost it straight to level 70. But this item also gives you an equipment box, and inside this equipment box is a full set of set bonus gear. For those who don't play Star Wars The Old Republic, this is basically endgame gear. Now also to the people who are not familiar with Star Wars The Old Republic, that's probably going to sound really pay to win immediately. You can buy an item and it's going to give you a bunch of equipment that is for endgame. Definitely sounds pay to win, right? But it's not pay to win. And there's actually a few reasons which prove that it's not pay to win. The first of which being the rating of gear that you get with this. It is endgame gear, yes, that is true, but it is the minimum level of endgame gear. It is literally the base entry level gear for endgame. For the people who will understand the difference, basically the item rating of this gear is 230 and the item rating of the best gear in the game is 248, so there is quite a difference there. But then people can argue that it still gives you an advantage over other players who do not have this equipment. You could also say that it gives you an advantage over other people because it boosts you straight to level 70. Well, I can answer both of those questions pretty easily. Boosting to level 70 is 100% not something that is going to give you an advantage over other players. The reason is simple, and it's because when you are level 70, the only type of group content that you can do is with other level 70 players. This goes for every single type of group content that you can do, whether it be a tactical flashpoint or a story mode operation. While yes, you can join those groups as a lower level, but what happens is, if you are a lower level when you enter those groups, you become bolstered, which raises your level to the max level, which is level 70. Conclusion being that everybody ends up being level 70 and there is no advantage to be had. Bearing in mind that that would be for PvE, and I don't really think that would be a good representation of something that is pay to win. In fact, if it was for PvP, I think it would be different. But again, we run into the same issue. If you are a level 70, then you can only do PvP with other level 70 players. The only thing that matters beyond the level in PvP is your gear. So now we're swinging back to the gear side of things. So the people who boosted to 70 and now have this gear are going to have an advantage over other people in PvP, right? The answer is no, absolutely not. And again, the reason is simple. It comes back to the bolster system that we have within the game. Long story short, when you join a PvP match, all of your stats and gear are boosted beyond the item rating that is given through this item. So while the player may have essentially bought this 230 rating gear, you're already being bolstered further than that when you join the PvP match. So the gear is completely irrelevant. In fact, it's also irrelevant to the person who bought it because you're being bolstered beyond that. You're having your gear boosted up more so that you can be competitive in PvP. In fact, after thinking about this for quite some time, the only instance in which you would gain an advantage over another player by buying this item in game is if you were to duel another player who is a lower level than you, which I think is absolutely laughable. And in fact, such a thing would only be possible if you were to be in an instance which wasn't level synced. For those of you who didn't know, Star Wars The Old Republic does have a level sync. So if you go to one of the starter planets as a level 70, your level will be reduced all the way back down to between 10 and 13, giving you absolutely no advantage over any other player because they will also have the same thing happening to them. Which means if you travel to a private instance to duel somebody who is a much higher level than you, then you, sir, are a moron. And it is your own fault for wanting to duel somebody who is a much higher level than you. Now, I know I said at the beginning of this video, this isn't going to be about is this item pay to win or not, even though it probably kind of seems like that at this point. But the main point I wanted to make about this entire thing was the differences between pay for convenience and pay to win. So the item in question, the one that we've just been discussing, is a pay for convenience item. You don't have to do the grind of any leveling, it's all done for you, and you don't have to do any of the grinding for the base entry level gear. So I think having actually just going through what this item does and that the fact that it's not pay to win, it kind of becomes self-explanatory what pay for convenience is, and that is being able to boost to max level without any of the hassle of having to level it yourself, while being given some gear that you don't have to grind for, and at the same time it's not giving you any advantage over any other player. That being said, all of the things that I've just mentioned are obtainable within the game anyways. Obviously you can level up without having to pay. Pretty stupid if you had to pay to level up, right? And now I'm remembering that you have to subscribe, but that's besides the point. And the gear itself that's given doesn't give you an advantage over any other player because of the bolster system, along with the multiplayer system that we have in the grouping sort of thing. So what exactly would be pay to win? One of the best examples that I can give you right now, and is also currently one of the biggest controversies that we've seen in the gaming industry lately, is the whole loot crate system that we've had with many games before now. More specifically, let's talk about Battlefront 2. The system that Battlefront 2 first used when it launched was pay to win. You could buy loot crates which give you upgrades and star cards and things like that, which essentially buffed you and made you perform better in multiplayer, while skill, yes, does apply to this situation. The point being, your weapons and your like traits and abilities and buffs or whatever are all going to be overpowered compared to the other people who have to earn those in game, which by the way is incredibly difficult to do. So I think we all know that that system Battlefront 2 used was pay to win. It's not the worst kind of pay to win in the world, but it's still pay to win and it should still be stopped. I'm very glad it was stopped, but who knows for how long. Now, more often than not, you'll find pay to win elements in a game that is free to play, which is ironic because Star Wars: The Old Republic is free to play. But as most people with experience will know, it's more of like a little trial type thing that you can do, but you have to subscribe to enjoy the game to its fullest and play everything. In fact, just as an off note here, and I'm only doing this because I play Star Wars: The Old Republic, is that this game has absolutely zero pay to win elements in it at all. And I genuinely mean that. You could search through whatever you want within this game, there is nothing at all that is pay to win. At most, you could maybe bring up XP boosts that you can buy, but those are also obtainable through the game and very easily done so. I mean, you'll literally get one every other mission through your story. So there is sort of like a line with pay to win, right? So let's imagine a line in the sand. There are games that can be close to pay to win but not exactly pay to win, and then there can be games that are just full blown out crossing the line and are just full on pay to win. So an example of a game that would be close to getting to pay to win but not exactly on the line of pay to win would be a game where you can purchase something which gives you an advantage over other players, but it is also earnable within the game. So that would be close to pay to win but not full on pay to win. An example of a game that is right on the line with pay to win would be a game where you can buy the advantage over other players, whether it be weapons and armor, and it's not really earnable through the game. And then the example of the game that is just full on pay to win and gone beyond the line of just disappointment is pretty much the same as the one that is on the line, but just more extreme. So something like you can only buy those items, like you have to buy those items and you have no other option. And not only do you have to buy those items, but those items give you a very distinct advantage regardless of skill in a game. So for example, you could take one player who is really good at playing a game versus another player who bought the weapons and the best gear and stuff and then put them together, and the person with the most skill loses because the gear and the weapons that were purchased were just too OP and just basically made the guy invincible. I must also just like really enforce here that pay to win does apply to PvE, but it mostly applies to PvP. So hopefully what I've gone through does just kind of explain what pay to win actually is and how to spot it. I know I keep saying example, but again, example, if we look at the item that we have within Star Wars: The Old Republic, let's say that it doesn't just only boost you to level 70, but it also gives you a full set of the best equipment possible with all the augments, along with some sort of crazy set bonus which reduces your damage taken by other players and that kind of stuff, then that would be incredibly pay to win, especially if you had to purchase it and it wasn't earnable through the game. So when you're saying something is pay to win, make sure you look out for those specific things, because if it doesn't have those things, then it's not pay to win. And again, when we go back to like the kind of mild examples, even if you can buy something that can essentially give you an advantage over players, but still earn it through the game at the same time, it is still pay to win, but it's not the worst kind of pay to win. That's really not me condoning it, by the way. I am 100% against paying to win in any game. I also do understand that free-to-play games do need to have their kind of income and funding and things like that, but there's a better way to do it, right? I mean, pay-to-win elements are what we see in mobile games. We don't want them in our AAA titles. I actually share the very same thought process as another YouTuber called Mr. Matty Plays, in where he talks about the whole pay-to-win thing as well, and he basically says that if he's playing a game and it's free to play, but there are still things that you can purchase within the game. I don't know, maybe it's to knock time off building something. Star Wars Commanders, for example, here. You know, if he enjoys the game enough, if they've given him like a fun, enjoyable experience, then he'll sink some money into the game. And I very much share the same thought process. In fact, very recently I was playing Star Wars Commanders on my tablet. I think over the past week I've been playing it actually. And for whatever reason, I've just been having like a ton of fun with it. So I decided to sink like, what was it, 10 or 20 pounds into it just to buy a few crystals and just speed up the process of building my stuff. You know, if a game makes you have fun, you know, it incentivizes you to spend money on the game, right? That's kind of the way it should be. I say kind of, I fully believe that that is exactly the way it should be. Okay then folks, I know that this video is kind of like I don't want to say a controversial topic, because I don't think that's what it should be. I think it should be a very simple topic, to be honest, but I know that a lot of people are going to feel differently about it. So please do, down in the comment section below, let me know what you think about pay to win, pay for convenience, the differences between them. Where do you draw the line? I'm actually very interested in knowing what you guys think about this, so make sure you leave that down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you smash the thumbs up and subscribe to the also glorious Pleb Nation. Peace out, plebs. I will catch you in the next one.